you say, that's cool. All right, I like that. So, my next speaker I would like to bring up is just an amazing friend of mine. And can you restart that? Yep. He's just, you're having a fight with it. Just an amazing friend of mine. His company is Everything Next Level. He does all these really cool things of next level association. Would you agree that it's important to associate yourself with the right type of people? Would you agree with that? And would you also agree that some of us have failed on that?
Yeah.
That we now don't look to your right and left and be like, yeah, don't do that right now. But would you say, oh yeah, no, don't say that. So it's true. We need to associate ourselves with the right type of people and the right mind frame. And for me, what I always say is, everyone says, surround yourself with like-minded people, right? I disagree with that. You can start it now. This is the intro. What I agree with is surround yourself with accelerated like-minded people, next level right-minded people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So otherwise, you're just hanging out with regular people out there instead of, and we're not. We're warriors. Although we're not right this second, we're just habitude right now. So I'm going to fix that before we go. So I am really excited. What? What's wrong? You guys have no faith in me? Is that what happened? Who just went, oh, don't do that now. Who was that? Oh man, don't do that. We know it's your show, but don't do that. Who was that? I'm not gonna pull anyone out, but I came around from this angle, somewhere around here, like I think I'm zeroing in. Who said that? No, just don't do that. You're putting up the next one. We're gonna have you sit in the middle and like pointing. All right. So this is the weirdest introduction of my next speaker, but so excited to bring up a great friend of mine. Really, really, just a tremendous individual, and I hope you'll learn some amazing things from him because he has a lot of gifts to share with you. Will you please give a warm welcome to Mr. Bob Donnel, ladies and gentlemen. Bob Donnel, ladies and gentlemen. What's up, brother?
Hi, Bob.
Silence can be deafening.
You're loved.
Thank you.
Aww.
One of the most profound things that we can do for each other is to hold a space for a little bit of silence. So often we rush to make comments. We rush to make statements. We rush to ask questions that have very little meaning. One of the courses I teach is called Connectology, and the premise of Connectology, one of the foundational pillars, is that the quality of your connection will be determined by the quality of the questions you ask. Think about it. What's the number one question you're going to be asked over this weekend? What does that tell them about you? Almost nothing. The quality of your connection will be determined by the quality of the questions you ask. Learn to ask better questions. The very first question that you ask is setting the tone for the rest of the dialogue. And so when I teach this course, people have to go through a lot of exercises during it's a full day experience. And they go through the entire episode trying to figure out what the best question is for them. So when I share this from a standpoint of that your agenda doesn't matter. If you're truly concerned and talking to another human being, the only thing that should matter is that they actually feel like you see them. Yet so often, we're just asking questions. We're just trying to get some information. We're just trying to make a deal. And guess what? They don't give a rat's ass about your deal. They don't really care about what's going on in your life. Let's just be honest, they don't. Now, that doesn't mean that they're rude. It just means that they're being honest. Look, you didn't come here for me. You came here for you. And when you set up an appointment, you're not going to the appointment for the other person. You're going for you. And so if that's true, then why not just acknowledge the fact that what they're there for is them, and then ask questions that tell you about them. So let me ask you this. If I want you to say a certain number, I want you to say the number 4, and I ask you, what's 2 plus 3? Whose fault is it that he's not answering the question that I want him to answer? He's answering the question that I asked him. And unfortunately, most of us, we don't know the question to ask. And here's why. Because most of us have gotten really lazy at asking questions. We don't want to give much thought to it. So what do? Hey, what do you do? And half the time when they answer, we still don't even really know what they do. And 2, we haven't really paid attention. We've just gone, oh, okay. Now why are we asking, what do you do? Because we want to know if what they do can serve us, or if what we do can serve them, which then serves us. It's a very self-serving question. Learn to ask better questions. Here's the positive thing. The most positive thing you can do is make people think. Make them think. If you ask the right question, you'll get what? The right answer. So, I want to share a story with you. My background is all in human behavior, understanding why people do or don't do the things that they do. I've been studying human behavior since the age of 15 and a half. At 15 and a half, I was asked by a gentleman who knew my mom was diagnosed with cancer and given 6 months to live. And he asked me, Bob, what do you want to be when you grow up? Now, how many of you guys at 15 and a half knew what you want to be? I didn't. At 15 and a half, I'm like, why are you even asking me? And he said, because you can learn a product, you can learn a service or an industry, or you can learn the one thing that drives every product, service, or industry. And I said, what's that? He goes, human behavior. If you understand why people do or don't do certain things, you can be successful with any product, service, or industry. And I said, sign me up. So I became a peer counselor, founded my nonprofit organization at 19, working with suicide prevention and crisis management and crisis intervention, and have consulted and done all kinds of things over the years. But the bottom line is everything that I do, every day, is focused on learning something new about why people do or don't do things and why they behave certain ways. Do you think over the course of the last 40 years, I've probably gathered a few things? Because I've been really paying attention. Look, you experienced the same thing over the last 40 years, if providing you're 50 years. But you've experienced some things, but most of us aren't paying attention to that. We're paying attention to things we want to know, and what I wanted to know was human behavior. So, founded a nonprofit at 19, worked with suicide prevention. Do you think it's important to connect with the person that you're dealing with if you're dealing with suicide prevention? You better be able to do it quick. And you better be able to do it barring all the distractions that they have. Because what are some of the distractions you think they have if they're thinking about taking their life? What are some distractions they have?
Shitty life.
Shitty life. I'm depressed. I'm upset. I was abused.
Not worthy.
Not worthy. Failure. Think about the things that they're distracted by. If you can't connect through all the bullshit, you're done. You're going to hear the click of a trigger on the other end of the phone. How many of you know somebody committed suicide? Do you think that having solid connection with people would have been a benefit to them? Now, look, it's not a safe for all, but I guarantee you this: it would definitely make a difference. And here's what I want to share with you: the responsibility of connection isn't on the other party; it's on us. When you walk into a room, I always say that when you walk into a room, there are someone here that can change your life. As my friend Glenn Morshire says, only forever. There's someone in this room, this very room, that could change your life. But it's not up to them to find you. It's up to you to find them. And if you find them by saying, hey, so what do? Chances are, one and done, you've lost. You have to create connection. So the quality of your life will be determined by the quality of connections. The quality of connections will be determined by the quality of questions you ask. And in questions, people say, Bob, could you help me develop a list of questions? And I say, well, what's the criteria that you have that you're looking to find out in the other person? Now, let me explain. Criteria is not the same as avatar. Avatar can be age range, medium income, all that stuff. I don't give a rip about that. What I'm looking for is attitudes and behaviors that I want to find out, because if they match that attitude and behavior, we can probably do business, be strategic partners, and be friends. So I have a criteria. I have 6 criteria. I teach people how to walk through the criteria. We literally walk through how to develop your own criteria that means something. So when you create a criteria, for example, one of mine is open-minded. Do you think open-minded is a good idea? Yeah. Okay, so for me, I don't do things the way everybody else does it. So how much more important do you think open-minded is probably for me with a strategic partner or a client or a friend? I don't do things the same way as everyone else does. Therefore, I need to have open-minded people. So wouldn't it be great if in the first meeting with somebody, I can determine whether they're open-minded? Now, that's pretty cool. But here's the thing is, I have to know that going in so that I can ask the question that helps me identify that. Most people are going in asking questions that they haven't considered what they're really trying to find out. So when you ask the question, know what you're looking for. So I have a criteria. So for example, open-minded, one of the things that I'll ask people is if I want to know if they're open-minded or not, make no mistake. It's a good thing to have more than one question. It's kind of like if you're hunting bear, one arrow probably is not a good idea. So it's the same thing with our questions. So one of the questions I ask, one of the questions for finding out if you're open-minded is I'll say, when was the last time that you did something for the very first time? When was the last time? Think about it. Now, some of you are answering the question like this. Oh, just yesterday I did blank, blank, blank. Some of you are going, boy, it might, maybe last month. And some of you are going, oh, not me. I'm a creature of habit. I like to do things the same way. If they're thinking that they're a creature of habit, are they probably going to be a good fit? Probably not. Now, it doesn't mean they're disqualified, but it certainly means put up caution before you spend a lot more time, energy, and resources in that relationship. But if they say, oh, just last week I went to a soccer game. Really? You're 42 years old and you went to a soccer game for the very first time. Why? See, a good question allows you to ask a better question. If I walked up to you and said, hi, I'm Bob, would you like to have sex? I'm probably going to get slapped. That's why I'm holding your right hand. Most people are right-handed. But the point of the message is you have to have the proper level of relationship currency for the level of question you're asking. Most people, when you're asking for the order, when you're getting to somebody to join your downline or upline, or you're getting somebody to do business with you at any level, most of you, when they say no, it's because you've asked an inappropriate question for the level of relationship currency you have. That's all it is. And the value that you built is based on the relationship currency you've created. So, when I ask that question, I want to make sure that I'm asking an appropriate question. But once you ask a good question, it begets a better question. If I were to walk up to a stranger and say, hey, how long have you been married? The question is then, why are you asking? But if I said, where would you go and who would you take with you? And they said, I'm my spouse. Then the question, how long have you been married? Is a perfectly question. Make no mistake, folks. In business, in life, in relationships, sequence matters. And if you miss the sequence, you miss the opportunity. So in Connectology, we spend a lot of time working on sequence. So let me ask you this. How many of you think that your business would change if you made better connections? Okay? Now, some of you here's what I'm gonna say. Some of you are not gonna raise your hand because you're like, I make really good connections, all right? And if you start out a question by asking, what do? You think that's building rapport? You suck at building rapport. It's just simple. You just suck at building rapport. And so what I want to challenge you to do is, while you're here, I mean, you've got a great venue. When you talk about the habits and the attitudes that are going to be required for you to get to your next level, personally and professionally, you've got people in this room that can literally shape the way you do the rest of your life. I see Jim Lutz back there, a friend of mine. I see Mike Green. See Eric Swanson. See Scott Sorrell. See Ron Kumi. These are people that are friends of mine that I've spent time with, that we've broken bread with, that we've developed relationship currency, that guess what? We go to battle for each other. How many of you have a handful of friends that you know have got your back, no matter what? How many of you don't? Now, here's the thing. When you ask that question, most people will be ashamed to raise their hand. But here's the truth. If that was the case, we wouldn't have a soaring suicide rate. If that was the case, we wouldn't have so many people addicted to drugs because of depression. The truth is, most of us are longing for one thing more than any drug, more than any amount of money, more than any amount of relationship. Most people are craving connection. They just want to feel like they've been seen. Like when you're in a store or when you're walking down the street, is it hi, 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 hi? Or is it just like, let's not look? Because if we look, they might ask a question. Let's face it, that's what happens. But here's the truth. People are dying. Some are dying of physical death. Some are dying of mental death. Some are dying in emotional death. And we may only have one opportunity to intervene for them and let them feel worthy, let them feel valuable, let them feel loved, let them feel appreciated. We may only have one opportunity, so we better damn well take it. And if you're not, then you're just existing. You're not really living. You're just existing. And here's the truth of it. You're just existing and you're not even coexisting. You're just existing for yourself. And so, as I wrap up, I've got 50 seconds, and here's what I want to leave you with. I've had the privilege of working with celebrities, I've had the privilege of working with athletes, everything else. And you know what? There's one universal thing that every one of them come to me. I have a very good friend of mine who's an actor, a very well-known actor. And he said, Bob, I just wish I had more people like you in my life that I can be completely transparent and open with. And that there's going to be no judgment. And you're just going to let me say things. And I'm going to close with this. There's one thing that stops people from sharing with you, and that's called connection breakers. And one of them is when you say, me too. Because you're actually telling them that what they're experiencing and what they're sharing with you is not of the highest amount of importance. And it is. Thank you.
Bob Donnel, everyone. That was really powerful. Thank you. I'd like to invite you to the awesome couch.
Awesome.
First of all, thank you so much. That was amazing. I am a huge believer in suicide prevention and the questions that we ask ourselves. So that was really powerful. Would you guys agree? Yes. So for everyone here, if there were some questions that you can share with us, that we can ask ourselves every day, the better questions that we can ask ourselves every day, not just the questions that we ask other people, what are some suggestions that you have for us?
I think, you know, if we're asking the questions of ourselves, then the first question has to be, what is it that I want to accomplish? What is it that I want to accomplish in coming to this meeting? Thank you. Almost hit me. What is it that I want to accomplish in coming to this event? What is it that I want to accomplish in this one-on-one coffee meeting? What is it that I want to accomplish is going to be the first question. And then I think the second question is, and why is that important? The third question is, what if I do and what if I don't? What if I do make that connection and get that new client? And what if I don't? Because look, we tend to operate, as a human behaviorist, I've found that typically we will be more responsive to taking massive action on something to avoid pain than to pursue pleasure. For example, you're driving down the road and you see a cop up ahead. How many of you speed up? Why? If you're pursuing pleasure and you're enjoying the driving fast, why wouldn't you speed up? Because the cost of that ticket is the avoidance of pain is more important than the pursuit of pleasure. So if we understand, what if I do get this new client? What if I do connect with this person? And what if I don't? And the question on like, what do I want to accomplish? Here's the trigger. Most people, when you're in sales or when you're in marketing or you're trying to do business, you're simply saying, I want to make this. I want to make this sale. And so 99% of the time you fail because we don't make a sale most of the time, typically. And so set yourself up to win by what is it that you really want to accomplish? Here's what I want to accomplish. When I'm here, I want to accomplish this for sure. I want to connect with people. I want to let them know that they are seen, that they're heard, and that they're loved and appreciated. Whether we ever do business or not is irrelevant.
Thank you. And how can we stay safe?
Yes.
Well, awesome. And I heard that you are sharing some awesome gifts with us today. Can you tell us about
I'm
that?
going to share a video that I did for Entrepreneurs Organization a couple of years ago, in which they had me come in and speak to, I don't know, close to maybe 100 different entrepreneurs about the importance of connection. And so if you go to 949-229-8016, 949-229-8016, and type and text the word HABSD. So Habitude for San Diego. So it's HABSD. You'll get a link to that video, and then we'll be able to talk to you a little bit about further whatever you have questions. You can send in questions, things like that. But that's free. It's probably about an hour-long video, and I really encourage you guys to check it out. There's some great information on it.
Wow. Thank you so much, Bob. You are so seen, you are so heard, and you're so loved. And that's appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's give it up for Bob Donnel.
Yeah. Now that was pretty cool. Now there we go. That was even cooler. Awesome. So everybody having a good time? Yes? Well, I am super pumped. Eric, why are you running? Usually when I'm up here and I'm like, why is he running now? Awesome, I'm gonna get Mike.
What up? I'm just skipping. I wasn't running, I was skipping. Guys, this is, do you know, it was a quick skip. Do you know, this is Ashton Harvey, by the way. You guys know that, right? Do you know who this gentleman is? You'll learn today or tomorrow. I think tomorrow. I think you just be, you're gonna learn, you're gonna learn. Give it up for my good friend Alec right there. He's our decorator of the HWC Warrior Conference. He flies in everywhere. How many shows have you flown in for? Oh, there's Mike, by the way. Say hi to Mike. He's up there. But Alec, you know, how many stages have you decorated with us? First one. That's awesome. So I wanted to mention something for you all. What time is it right now? You can stay up here. What time is it right now? Like 11? Awesome. You guys having a good time? Yeah. I mean, how was the morning so far? Like amazing, right? Y'all didn't know, did you? You're like, how many y'all, come on, watch this. Come on, raise your hand. Just raise your hand. Raise your hand if this applies to you. You're like, you know what? Yeah, I'll sign up for this, but I'm gonna see what it's all about. I'll check it out. I don't know. I'm not sure. Come on, raise your hand. All right. Not all of you, I hope. Just a few of you. All right. With those hands raised, good stuff? Yeah? All right, excellent. You're still in for an amazing treat for all of the rest of our speakers are amazing all 3 days. By the way, it's all about being a habitude warrior, as you can see behind us here. And would you agree that you kind of need to improvise sometimes? Would you agree with that? Things are going to happen. So I always say this, like, this is not our event, it's your event. So things are going to happen, you know, if it's too hot, too cold, too something, you know, just, you know, let's all work together. And that means, you know, putting up signs right, in the morning. It's awesome. But also, there's I think we have, everyone say hi to Muriel, who's right there. She's amazing. Muriel Buckner. She has in her hand, and she's going to go like this in a second, I'm sure. I believe it's in her hand. She has a bunch, no, that wasn't it. She has a bunch of little piece of paper that have like different restaurants, different places around here to go to. So from what I heard, and we'll just give it out later. Yeah, if you guys want one, we'll just leave them. We'll leave them. You know what we should do? Everyone look in the back. Yeah, you see the little water and the fire thing? Yeah, put it right there. Everyone look at her. Boom. That's where they are. If anyone wants one, just grab it right there. All right. And basically, we're looking at what there's claim jumpers right here in the lobby. Why does everyone laugh when I say that? I'm like the third person who said that. I said that to somebody. They're like, "Are you at claim jumpers?" They're like, Is it good or not? I don't even know what to. It is a restaurant, right? I'm not saying the wrong. Am I saying the wrong words? Oh, that's why one plate will feed 4 people. Oh, go there. That's awesome. Pair up. Look to your right. Look to your left. And say, "Hey, you're eating a chicken pot pie with me," or whatever they serve. I don't know what they. Woo! Look at that guy. We have 33 speakers. They're all TED Talk style. It's amazing. That guy just wooed the chicken pot pie. That's what he did. He's like, "No, the speakers are great, but chicken pot pie, woo!" Yeah. So here's the scoop. There's yeah, let's hide that, by the way. Okay, so here's the scoop. Stand behind the thing. Yeah, good call. Don't look that way. Look this way. Don't look this way. Guys, in all honesty, we're going to be taking a lunch break. Oh, excuse me. She just went. Can you guys tell I like to have fun?
No.
So here's the deal.
Yeah.
I'll give you a little secret. I'm going to have fun today, with or without you. So it's up to you if you want to join us.
Now they don't have to hear your voice all the time.
Wow,
this is loud.
Yeah. A little over.
I'm gonna go. Yeah.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
So I do want to tell you this. We're going to be taking a lunch break right around 12:15 to 1:15, or 12 to 1 maybe, for roughly around there. 12 to 1. We'll give you till 1:15 to get back in the room, and then we're going to do some cool things right around 1:20. If that's cool with y'all, is that good?
Yeah.
I just said y'all.
Y'all. He's still stuck in Dallas.
A friend of mine,
Still
yeah.
stuck in Dallas.
A friend of mine told me I'm saying y'all wrong. She says y'all is singular, all y'all is plural. That's what she says. I gotta say all y'all. So we're gonna stop that for a second. So here's the scoop. I want to mention a couple things where we are. You all know where we are, right? Because you're local, right? Most of you. So San Diego. But like up the street, I mean, okay, when you go out of this door, don't go all the way to the front lobby. I wouldn't. I would just go out this way, just walk like 2 blocks to Little Italy area if you want. Thing is, Little Italy is awesome, but it probably would take you a little bit of time there, especially during that time. So you might not want to do that. Claim jumpers, you know, just have this guy buy you a chicken pot pie and you're good. And there's also, from what I heard, if you walk out the lobby, out at the front and hang a left, apparently there's like a deli right there that's supposed to be really good from what the people told me. And I was like, oh my God, I come here from all over the place to come to that one. I'm like, all right, so that's pretty cool. And then I don't know if there's any other, I don't really know the area, so I guess they're on the list there. But please go eat quick and come back. And I would suggest like walk, so it's really quick and easy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, we're probably gonna be doing the lunch break. Today we're gonna do it a little earlier from, like I said, 12:15 to 1:15. Tomorrow and day after, roughly around 12:30 to 1:30 is the time slot. All right. Any questions on that? Does anyone have a question? Good. Awesome. So There was something else in housekeeping I was going to mention. Oh, I don't know if we mentioned this earlier. So videos and photos, awesome. Tag and brag us is what we'd love to do. So you'll see it. You'll see it here, San Diego 2019. But just hit the hashtag HWCSD. So just go ahead and do that on your tag and brag and so forth. Put in Habitude Warrior. And the reason why is, yeah, it helps all of us grow and so forth, but it helps you guys connect with us, and then we can connect with you, and literally lots of more referrals happen throughout the US, you know, and beyond. So how many of y'all are in sales? Is anyone here in sales? Oh, great. How many of y'all are self-employed? Great. How many of y'all are unemployed every single morning? Great. Yeah. So do y'all, if you're in sales, do you have clients that are not only like national but international as well? Like, do a lot of you work in, not just here, right? So tag and brag, and let's connect the dots in different cities that we're in. Make sense? Cool. I'm going to turn it back over to Ashton to introduce our next speaker lineup, and then we'll see you guys at lunch. By the way, speakers in the house. Speakers in the house. Oh, I forgot to tell you this little secret. I know, hold on. I'll tell you this little secret. This little secret is this. 90% of our speakers stay for all 3 days. And they're literally within you right now. Oh, it's not like within, like, yeah, within you. Where's that speaker? So, what I'm saying is they're around. Like, you'll just notice there's one right there, one right there, or something. They're all over the place. And they're amazing, and they love supporting you. So, definitely go up to them, meet them, and so forth. We mentioned the bingo cards? Yeah. Do we or not? I'm going to re-mention it to you guys. Do you all know the program that we passed to you guys? That's a combo of Dallas and San Diego, obviously. And you'll see that the program, towards the back, there's 2 bingo cards. Okay, it's called Speaker Bingo cards. And yes, I'll just already tell you, I know there's a typo. We are not in Houston, right, for the free space.
We're not?
You see that? Yeah, I saw that. It's all good. No worries. Everyone, just repeat after me. It's all good.
It's all good.
All right, so it's all good. So basically, what we're looking at doing is this: when you see a speaker, and here's the request: see the speaker during a break over there, or something, you know, or outside the hall is fine. Try not to go and capture it. So a lot of our speakers are, you know, they're preparing to be on stage, etc., to deliver for you. So just be careful of conscious of their time. You know, ask them, is this a good time? That's a perfect way to say that. Is this a good time? All right. But what you want to do is have them sign both cards at the same time. So have it open already. Have your own pen just in case. And when you sign it, and I'm a speaker as well, so have you sign it. But don't literally, I'm running around, so please ask me if it's a good time. Cool?
Qualified time.
But here's the deal.
Sales.
When the speaker signs it, you put down like their last name or put down their first and last name, because otherwise you're not going to know all the signatures, right? We've had this problem in the past. You're like, I don't know. So make sure you label that, and we'll go ahead and do a couple of winners. Are going to win some cool things towards the end of the conference. All right.
Yes.
Now Ashton's looking at me like, get off my stage, sir. Okay, give it up for Ashton, ladies and gentlemen.
Get off my stage.
Oh, I got an applause. See, look at that.
Yes, give Eric Swanson a round of applause, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. So, I get to introduce somebody who is super impactful, making a massive impact, not only in his community, but for our community as a whole. He's a retired Army Ranger. He's retired 4 times medically because of getting injured, which is crazy to think about. And he still serves our community today. He is a bronze medal, I wrote it here because I don't want to mess it up. He's a Bronze Star with Valor, which is amazing. Yes, please. That's an amazing Bronze Star with Valor. He also has multiple Purple Hearts for his Valor. And today he started a company called AM300, where he helps people and teaches people how to win the battle of life. And that's what we need to do in life, right? We need to win the battle of life. And not only is he doing that, he's helping people along the way. He's going to bring on stage a couple of people that he's working with from the U.S. snowboard team, which is going to be so exciting. He's working with athletes to teach them how to break through their barriers and eventually get onto the podium, which is so great. So I'm so pumped to bring up this man, because he's a man who fought with heart, and he wants to give with heart as well. And he's going to really pour into you all today, and I'm so excited to bring up Jesse Stewart. So let's give him a round of applause. This is going to make it great.
How you doing? Yes, my name is Jesse Stewart, and just to clarify that, I guess it is a little bit of a mouthful to someone that doesn't understand it, but I did get the Bronze Star of Valor for being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and once again, some Purple Hearts for the same thing. But really what I want to start with is in what world, thanks, one person. What I do want to start with is, in what world does a 38-year-old retired Army Ranger, 340% disabled rating by the VA, end up somehow working with J.J. Thomas, who won the Olympic bronze medal in 2002 in the half pipe, went on to coach a little-known snowboarder named Shaun White, who went to go back to back to back, and most recently won the gold. And then another athlete such as Lucas Foster, 19-year-old, amazing American, that's going to ideally be representing the United States in 2022 at China. And that world is my world, which has been accused of being a little bit interesting at times. But what has led me to that world? And then get into the context of the guys that I'm going to bring up to speak after me. Young guy, country boy from North Carolina, moved up to Washington State when I was about 5 or 6 years old. And went through the same struggles that everybody goes through, the same challenges everybody goes through. And for me, just like these athletes that I work with, sports was my outlet. And ideally, I wanted to become a professional baseball player, but went on to the University of Washington and decided to do ROTC. And on 9/9/2011 or 2001, I went to New York City to go have a vacation right before my senior year with my aunt and uncle. And had an opportunity to finally get up on top of the World Trade Center and have brunch. So went up there, had brunch, still have the picture on my display case, and then went back to the University of Washington, started my senior year. And then of course 2 days later, everybody knows what happened. And I was already in ROTC, so when you're in ROTC, everybody wants to be a Ranger, at least when you're in the Army. Just like in the Air Force, everyone wants to be a future civilian airline pilot, correct? So but that number of every 100 goes down to about 5 after 9/11. And I was one of those 5 that kept with the infantry mindset that attempt to become a Ranger, and I was able to accomplish that. And I was very proud of the fact that I become the first college graduate, first officer in my family after having a father that served 32 years, enlisted in the United States Navy, grandfather served 27 years in the United States Army, before going all the way back to the French-Indian War, where great-granddaddy times 14, I believe, served as one of the original Marauders Rangers before the United States was even around. And so I was proud to carry on that legacy. And I was at 22 years old, getting my Ranger tab and going off to be a part of the initial invasion of Iraq. Of course, nothing could stop me. And soon I realized, yes, things can stop you, like bombs and bullets. And I went through the opportunity of being able to command 149 of the finest Americans and Rangers in the United States within a unit called Task Force 300. And unfortunately, in 2006, 2007, we got called over for the Zarqawi mission. We executed that, and then this little thing popped up called ISI, which no one quite understood what it was. And fast forward 18 months later into a 30-day deployment, keep in mind, I find myself having lost 14 of my Rangers under my command, being wounded 3 times within that deployment myself, to include my best friend jumping in front of a suicide bomber and saving my life. And ending that deployment and realizing, you know what, maybe this stuff should affect me. But like most of us during that time, the fear of losing my security clearance and losing my command, I negated to talk to anybody about it and continued to just press on. And so I get back, and after 4 reconstructive knee surgeries and a lot of undealt with trauma, and then eventually losing my son when I was 30 years old, I was forced into retirement. And so here I am, very proud initially that I was the youngest major in the Army since the Vietnam War, and all of a sudden becoming the youngest retired major in the Army since the Vietnam War. So I retired, the civilian world thought they had a gift coming to him. A 31-year-old major with 2 master's degrees that he didn't really quite remember getting, but thanks to the Army for anyway. And goes into the business world and starts teaching at the university, taught at Grand Canyon University, trying to espouse these Ranger ethos that I learned, and then started working with a really interesting organization. So I'm sitting there in 2014, 15-ish, and I get a phone call from someone claiming to be part of US Ski and Snowboard. And I'm like, I think you guys are a pretty big deal. And he said, well, we saw that you're a retired Ranger, you have some awards, we'd like you to come out and speak to our rookies. And so this was 2014, right after the Olympics. And I came out and had a great time. And they called me back and asked me to continue coming back. And before you know it, I'm getting an opportunity to share this mental mindset that I developed as an Army Ranger, going through Army Ranger school, 61 days, going in at 201 pounds, leaving at 150 pounds, averaging about an hour and 15 minutes sleep a night, and taking that experience of just raising your mental game to be able to push through on the physical and raise that up, and all of a sudden giving that knowledge and sharing that knowledge with these young athletes. A couple of those athletes go and do pretty well in 2018, and all of a sudden I go back, and to kind of back up a little bit, I've skied since I was 7 years old. I have an unhealthy lack of respect for fear, especially on skis. And every year I come and do these rookie camps, snowboarders would say, hey, yeah, Jesse, Ranger Jesse, whatever the various things they would call me, you need to come out and go snowboarding with us. I'm like, that's nice. I'm not perfect at it, so no, that's not going to happen. I said, I'll come out on skis and I'll ski around you little circles, but not going to get on a snowboard. So this last year I go out there, and I meet these two young kids, Jason Woolley and Lucas Foster. And they come up to me afterwards, and this is the first year that I started talking about mindset and the ability to quiet your mind and slow your mind down, especially in a competitive environment or a firefight. These two athletes come up to me, both of them 18 years old, and they're like, hey, that really spoke to me, and it's kind of like, I don't know if I really believe you, but okay, let's see how this plays out. They're like, we're on the snowboard half-pipe team. So not just snowboarders, but on the half-pipe team. So as far as you can possibly get away at that point in time, in my mind, for an Army Ranger and an Olympic athlete. And so Jason Woolley and Lucas Foster decided to come out and do base visits and work with me for a couple days. And Jason's visit was the first one, went well, but then Lucas comes out. I take him out to the VA, take him out to Fort Carson, ends up meeting about 300 active duty soldiers, signs autographs for about 500 members of the VA. He met one of the 4 surviving World War II veterans in Colorado 4 times because the gentleman forgot Lucas each time, and so he kept coming back to get another autograph. And so I'm watching the impact of this 18-year-old kid, he may have been 19 at the time, of him taking his time. A guy that never went to regular school like we had an opportunity because his classroom has been the half-pipe. And I'm watching this, and so at the end, and this story may be a little bit convoluted, but I'm the one that gets the opportunity to tell it. I basically said, Lucas, man, you were awesome. That meant the world to me. What can I do for you? And several other athletes had invited me to go snowboarding, and I refused it up until that point. And so the offer came for me to come out for opening weekend at Telluride, where he trains out of. And I went out there, and I did not bring my skis. And I remember when I showed up, he's like, where are your skis at? I'm like, Lucas, I didn't bring them. I'm going to be on the board with you. And so he gets me outfitted with the same exact Solomon Huck knife that he rides. And now keep in mind, I've got him, his personal coach at the time, Jason Cannon, an Olympic caliber athlete himself, and Cherokee Sandoval, one of the athletes that's up and coming within the snowboard community. And I got about 6 hours of 3-on-1 instruction from those guys. Now, I don't care how bad of a snowboarder you may be, when you've got that ability, things happen pretty dang quick. And I was all of a sudden hooked. So fast forward, it's maybe been about 4 months. I went riding 42 times this year, which I think there's 3 athletes actually that I got on the snow more, and they did. And what I ended up finding through that, a 19-year-old kid, what he was able to give me, that no one else had in the past, not the military, not the VA, not any therapist, was within veteran community, our biggest problem is that we're stuck in the past, so we're depressed about the things we've lost, the people we've lost, ourselves we've lost, and then we're stuck in the future, scared to death of the 99 out of 100 women that are going to say no to a date to us. I mean, things that are going to, go wrong. And so the problem is this inability for presence. And when I got on that board, there's no better way for a guy like me to stay present than to be ripping down the mountain with a guy like Lucas Foster or his coach, J.J. Thomas, 2002 Olympic bronze medalist, underneath the chairlift with all the adoring fans that I'm sure are focused on me and not them. And you don't just completely wipe out. And that's what a 19-year-old kid gave me, was he gave me presence. And then now I get to sit back and be a cheerleader for him. And one of the greatest memories I have from him is I went up to see him at Copper Mountain when he was able to get through me one of his pro-level Solomon Huck knife snowboards. So my first snowboard is going to be the equivalent of giving me a Dodge Viper at 15 and a half years old to learn how to drive on. And that's what I've been riding all year. So he brings me up to Copper Mountain. He's all excited for the Toyota Grand Prix, the first race of the year. And all of a sudden, as I'm getting ready to leave, he says, hey, Jesse, Rangers lead the way. And for a 19-year-old kid to be able to say that, he had no idea what was going on with me at that time, but there was some rough stuff. For him to say that at that moment in time, I suddenly realized, you know what? It's not the government that's going to bring down the 22 veterans a day that kill themselves. It's not doctors that are going to do it. It's going to be normal, above, extraordinary Americans like Lucas Foster, Jason Woolley, and their coach, who I affectionately call the Beacon, J.J. Thomas, who's already set the standard for us. So more importantly than being able to share with you guys what I just did, I get an opportunity to bring these two guys up on stage. And the first one you're hear from is future Olympian, in my mind, future podium member in my mind, Lucas Foster, who's a 19-year-old member of US Ski and Snowboard on the half-pipe team, and now I call one of my dear friends, right here.
How's it going, everyone? Awesome. Thanks for the warm welcome, Jesse. So, as Jesse said, I'm Lucas. I'm 19 and I'm a snowboarder. And yeah, public speaking, it's quite a different platform than what I'm used to. Being a snowboarder, just being an athlete, all we really do in front of the public eye is compete in contests and do tricks. That doesn't involve any words or anything. So it's super cool to be here, and it's a great opportunity, mainly because I love talking about the process, what I've learned in the process of being a snowboarder, being an athlete, and chasing a big dream. So I started on my journey of becoming a pro athlete when I was about 14 or 15. I've been snowboarding for a long time, but I went 100% in when I was about 14 or 15. And, you know, as you guys know, that's a really crucial age for any human being. So it really put me to the test, and I had to sacrifice a lot of stuff. And that first big sacrifice for me was giving up that normal teenager lifestyle, which was easy for me because I love snowboarding too much to, you know, do the normal teenager path. I was like, I want to snowboard. But through that whole process, you know, there was some ups and downs, but I took a lot out of that whole process, and I learned a lot of things that really kind of propelled me into where I'm at now. And one of the most important things that I took away from being a young adult, kind of chasing this big dream and really taking a different path than a lot of my friends were, was learning about vision, learning about, you know, seeing a future for yourself, learning about what you're creating in this world, and really finding that vision before you take on other things. So that's what I'm here to talk about today. One second, I got these note cards. So anyway, you know, we all hear about vision. I'm sure every one of you guys know what it is and stuff, but from my experiences, I've heard a lot of people kind of overlook vision. I've seen a lot of people kind of skip that step in their lives. They don't really get a chance to create a vision for themselves because they're not really seeking inside of themselves to figure out what they like to do, and that's pretty sad to see because a lot of people, you know, they don't get the chance to see the future for themselves, so they're looking into the past. And yeah, life sucks when you're looking into the past all the time, that's for sure. But I'm sure a lot of you guys are past the step too. You know, there's no other reason you would be at this conference if you didn't have a vision for yourselves. You know, you guys have found industries that you're passionate about, skills that you guys are passionate about. So, you know, it sounds like you guys are at least knowing what part of your vision is, which is obviously going to be your career. That's a big part of our lives. But I want to ask you guys, you know, you can ask yourself, what do you want to leave on this planet? Is your career contributing to everything that, you know, is part of your vision? Are your everyday habits contributing to your vision? Not only your vision for your career, but your vision for, you know, yourself and those around you, your vision for the world. And yeah, do you know your why? That's a big one too. Why are you doing these things every day? Why are you choosing the career that you're in? Those are great questions you can ask yourself. Through my experiences, my vision's always been my best guide. It's always been the one thing that I can always look back on to give me direction whenever I'm in these sticky situations. You know, so when you have vision, you know exactly what you want. And when you know what you want, you're gonna have direction every single time. And direction is something that a lot of people seek in their lives. And it's really hard to seek direction, you know, inside yourself and really find it inside yourself. So tons of people look outside of themselves for direction. You know, you see all these ads every single day. So that's why it's so crucial to find that vision for yourself, because if you don't have that vision or direction coming from inside you, you're prone to every single ad you see on Instagram, YouTube. You're really at risk of being vulnerable to so many different things. You're a leaf blowing in the wind pretty much. And that wind, it'll take you wherever it wants to take you. And if it stops, you're just stuck there and you gotta wait for that next gust. So, yeah, that's pretty scary. And then, so there's vision and then there's goals. A lot of people, they solely just focus on these goals, which is all good. I set goals too every day. But, you can go 20, 30 years setting goals, achieving goals, moving on to the next one. But if there's nothing above those goals, then you're going to probably stop and ask yourself, why do I want to achieve all of these goals? Like, what am I going to create after all these goals are done? The way I look at my goals in my snowboarding career and in my life is I look at them as like a little paintbrush stroke on a big canvas. And every little goal I achieve, even if that goal is as big as landing, or not landing, but getting a gold medal at the Olympics, or just landing a super small trick in the half pipe, it's still just one regular paintbrush stroke. What is the big picture once all those goals are achieved? You are creating a big picture on a big canvas, and all your goals are making up that big picture. So what is it that you're creating? So how do you correlate these vision, the vision mindset into your business or into whatever you're trying to create, whether you're in entrepreneurship or the service industry, giving service to other people? You can look at tons of different successful businesses, and a lot of the best ones in the world, they all have a higher purpose than just being number one in their market. You look at companies like Adidas, Nike. A really good example is TED. We all know what TED Talks are. They always promote their vision right on their website, ideas worth spreading. They're all about spreading ideas. And everything that TED puts out on the internet, it's all contributing to their vision, which is spreading ideas. It's pretty simple, like every single thing on their YouTube channel is a TED Talk. It's an idea that someone has that they're spreading. Another good example is Nike, as I just said. And Nike's a big one for me because I'm a skateboarder too, so I have to wear shoes even though I don't wear Nikes right now. But Nike, if you really focus on their ads and look at what they're putting out on the internet every day, it's all about their athletes and the people that they're backing. And it's all about promoting great athletics. And they use these athletes to promote the products that Nike's putting out. And all the products that Nike puts out is all about, making these sports easier, making these products so that the sports can be pushed beyond the limits that they are now. So that's one thing that I want to plant in everyone's head today, if it's not already, is whatever you're creating in your business, in your life, create a community around it and make sure that you have a vision bigger than just that fat paycheck, because shit hits the fan in life, whether it's in your career or in your relationships. And if you don't have a vision to really lift yourself up out of those tough situations, it's going to be so hard to keep charging for whatever you're trying to get. And I know that my vision has definitely helped me through the hardest of times. In my snowboarding career, when all my friends wanted me to go smoke weed with them in the woods freshman year, I was like, guys, I love you, but I'm going to go snowboard because part of my vision is being a good snowboarder. And I know that smoking weed right now is probably not going to help me become a better snowboarder yet. So that's pretty much what I believe in the most, is that your vision is going to be your foundation for every little thing you want to achieve in your life. It's going to be your foundation when you're brainstorming goals, when you're moving through situations that are sticky, when you're trying to achieve certain goals, you name it. So make sure your vision is rock solid every day. Maintain it, master it, refine it as much as you can, and the sky's the limit. The deeper you're rooted in your vision, the higher you're going to grow, just like a plant. The deeper its roots are, the higher it's going to grow. So thank you guys, and JJ's up next.
So Rangers may lead the way in combat, but Americans like this are the ones that are really leading the way for our country. I had an opportunity to be there and coach Lucas the first time he spoke in public. It was to only 400 soldiers that were staring him down like, why are you wasting my lunch break right now? And he went on to just crush it. And that was amazing, because that time I was by his side, but to be right there was absolutely amazing. So the next speaker we have is one of Lucas's mentors, and quickly become one of my mentors on the snow. He's who I consider to be my personal mentor on the snow. And I can't think of anything better than 2002 Olympic bronze medalist in the snowboard halfpipe and personal coach to Shaun White, 3-time Olympic gold champion, JJ Thomas.
I don't think there's much of an argument when the conversation arises about who the best competitive snowboarder in the world is. The one name you're guaranteed to hear is Shaun White. Now, I had the privilege the last few years to coach him while he was on a mission to try and win his 3rd Olympic gold medal. And this is special to me because Shaun and I have some history together. Back in 2002, when we were young men, he was 15 and I was 20 years old. And we were battling it out, competing against each other for the same spot on the U.S. Olympic halfpipe team. It came down to the final runs of the last event. I beat him that day and stamped my ticket to the 2002 Winter Olympics. But this would be the first, last, and only time that I beat him. But nonetheless, it happened, and we have an ongoing joke that I helped him in the beginning by motivating him, and now I get a chance to help him near the end of his career as his coach. Shaun has a great career, and throughout my career, I've come to realize that there's 3 simple principles that, if followed, will help anyone achieve their goals. And Shaun White's epic comeback at the 2018 Winter Olympics demonstrated these 3 principles to a T. And today I'm going to share them with you guys, and you can use them if you want on your path to reach your goals. But the story starts October 21st, 2017. 5 months before the Winter Olympics, Shaun and I were training in New Zealand. He was working on 2 tricks, back-to-back 1440s in the halfpipe. That's when a snowboarder leaves the lip of the halfpipe, flips twice, spins 4.5 times, lands perfect, goes into the next wall switch, and has to do the same thing. It's like Tiger Woods hitting a 300-yard drive down the middle on hole 1, and then stepping up to the second hole and having to do it left-handed. Not easy. And at the time, he was the only one trying this in the world, and we both agreed that if he could do this, it would be crucial in him winning gold in a few months. And the day started out great. He was doing the first one over and over, landing it perfect. And then he looked at me while he was going up the little rope toe next to the halfpipe, and he said, "Hey, I want to do the second one." I said, "Let's get it. This is the day." He leaves the lip of the halfpipe, flips twice, spins 4.5 times, looked perfect in the air. But when he came in to land, his board butt hit the deck of the halfpipe unexpectedly, sent him flying down to the bottom of the 22-foot pipe, where he caught his toe edge, slammed his chest and face into the ice. Boom! Goggles explode, helmet pushes back. I instantly see blood everywhere. Luckily, I'm on top of the halfpipe looking right down on him. And I was freaking out, wondering what just happened. How bad is this? But then I started hearing him ask about his teeth. He said, "My teeth, I think I knocked my teeth out." And as gruesome as this is, it was actually a relief to me to hear that he was awake and at least was wondering where his teeth were. So I slide down to him. I go, "Shaun, breathe. Your teeth are there. Calm down, they're there." But the truth is, I couldn't see his teeth. All I saw was blood, and a lot of it. But I wanted to give him anything I could in that moment to calm him down. So we calmed down. We're not really sure what to do, and then I hear someone say, "Put some pressure on it." I look up from where I just slid in, and it's Dan Bilzerian, a celebrity from Los Angeles, California, now lives there. And he was in New Zealand on vacation, and he flew in that day to watch Shaun train. And Dan has a military background, so he knew just what to do. He threw this towel in the pipe to me. I give it to Shaun, puts it on his face. The bleeding commences for a little while. Next thing I know, Shaun's getting flown off on an emergency helicopter to get surgery. And I was pretty sure when that helicopter was flying away, I was watching his goals and possibly his whole professional career fly away with it. It was that bad of a crash. A few days later, we were in the hospital, and he was recovering, and they did a great job of stitching him back up, and he wanted to go home. As any of you know, when you're sick or hurt away from home, all you want to do is be home. That's all you care about. But it turns out he put a huge contusion on one of his lungs, and they were filled up with blood, so he wasn't cleared to fly. We had to sit there for a week and just think about what happened, where did we go wrong? And I said, Sean, you of all people, this might be a great time to consider walking away. You don't need to compete anymore. You have nothing to prove of everyone, nothing. Think about joining my side, ride some powder, forget about the Olympics. He took 2 seconds and looked at me and said, I cannot quit. I just cannot quit. I just took one of the worst crashes of my life. I'm this close to reaching my goal and doing these tricks. I cannot stop. And right then, showed me everything about who he was as a person and why he has had so much past success. He just redefined that old phrase, never give up, in 2 seconds. He said, I'm done. And this is something everyone needs to keep in mind, because I guarantee you, on your path to reaching your goals, whatever they are, personal, business, you will want to quit. And if you don't want to quit, your goals probably aren't high enough. You need to reevaluate, because you will want to stop. And persistence pays and wins every time. It's that simple. The person who wants it the most gets it. I said, all right, Sean, you're a savage, and I respect that. Let's try and get home. He said, all right. We flew home. 7 weeks go by, and now he needs to qualify for the U.S. Olympic team. No one's given a freebie, not even Sean White. And to do that, you typically need 2 podiums to make it. He shows up to Colorado in December, stitches in his tongue, confidence shattered, but he went out there and got a 3rd place at one of the first events, which was huge. Now he's halfway home to hopefully making the team. And the holidays come, Christmas to New Year's. We all look forward to this. No matter who you are, everyone takes a break and just goes home and chills out for the holiday like we all do. And he looked at me and he said, hey man, I know you have a family. I can't take a day off, much less a week, so you don't have to come back with me, but I'm coming back. And I said, Sean, I love your attitude and your work ethic. I'm gonna do everything I can to get back here with you. That's what we did. The next day we were flying back on a plane to train. We showed up in Colorado. We were the only people there. Not one other pro was around. He showed up every day, put his boots on, rain, snow, wind, and he sacrificed that time away from his family. And this is critical. For anyone who's trying to get what they want, you have to show up on a consistent basis, day in and day out. The more you show up for practice, the easier it is to get what you want on your big day. You can't cruise and just show up and knock it out of the park on your big day. Sometimes it happens. We all get lucky. But showing up on a consistent basis buys you insurance. And that's what he did. So much so that when the next qualifier came in January, he won the event. From that hard week of practice, stamped his ticket back to the Olympics. So now we're flying to South Korea, February 1st, for the Winter Olympics. He's not feeling very prepared. He still hasn't done the back-to-back tricks he knew he needed to win. But he was riding good and his confidence was coming back. When we got to Korea, there's a whole week of practice. And he showed up again, used every bit of it. Every minute, every hour. I pushed him hard and he responded. So much so that when qualifiers came, he won the event, which is big because that means you drop last on finals day. There's 3 runs and you're the last guy to go. So if you're not winning, you know what you need to do in order to win. That's the good news. Bad news, finals was the very next day. Typically you get a break and you have a whole day off to rest the body, rest the mind. But for whatever reason, with the way they scheduled it, it was on, no break. So we wake up on the final day and I go, Sean, how you feeling? He looks at me and he said, this is my worst nightmare. My leg is shot. My back is toast. He practiced so hard to get back in the game and went so big in qualifiers, he had nothing left on one of the biggest days of his life. But he had the courage to reach out to me and his team that morning and say, I don't feel good. What do I do? And this is critical. And I wasn't good at this in my career. I was too tough. And I wouldn't really vocalize when I wasn't having a great day. He has enough courage to just reach out on the biggest day of his life and say, what do I do? And the thing is, we're all surrounded by people who love and support us. And there's not one person on this planet that can't use a little help sometimes. So we do what we do. Get them moving. I said, put your gear on. We're going to get outside. The fresh air will hit us. Adrenaline will kick in and you will get through the day. I promise you. Let's show up like you've been doing the whole season. That's what he did. He went out there. Practice wasn't great. He chipped away. For him, it was actually a bad practice, I'll be honest. Don't tell him I said that. He gets going, and by the time the first run comes, he went from practicing here to performing here. I thought he won the Olympics on his first run, but it's never that easy. A fellow competitor from Japan ended up doing the same combination of tricks he'd been wanting to do and took him out. Now he's in second place. So it's third run, bottom of the ninth, bases loaded. He needs a grand slam, and he's never done it. But he knows, he's put in the work. I know he's a gamer, he likes the pressure. So he steps up, final run, goes huge 1440. Now he's going in uncharted territory. Second 1440, lands like he never left. I had 2 elephants on my back, 1 jumped off. But he has to finish the run. Big 540, big McTwist, 1260 to another 1260, the best one he's ever done. He puts his hand up. We start freaking out at the top, hugging, crying. We haven't seen scores, but we didn't even care. We were so proud of what he accomplished, given everything that had happened. Then we pull out our phones for the live scoring. Boom. The second elephant flew off my back. Gold medal. He did it. And these 3 principles he used that make up the pillars of my coaching philosophy are yours. Use them. Show up, reach out, and never, ever give up. Thank you, guys.
JJ, I'll tell you what, man, it's been an absolute honor to work with athletes like you as an athlete, and like Sean and Lucas. But what's always interesting to me, as interesting as they are, is the people behind them, and the quiet professionals, and that's what we're often called within the special ops community. And I'll tell you what, man, you just exemplify the ultimate quiet professional in terms of what you do, and it's been an absolute honor to meet you. And people, how often do you get an opportunity to get that backstage story to a route to an Olympic gold medal? And JJ is probably one of the most humble guys that I've ever met. But keep in mind, this is the guy that kept Sean out of the limelight for a while, and then helped propel him. And I think that just speaks to JJ's level of service of his heart. He probably could have competed. I know he could have competed. I've watched him ride. But he has chosen to take a heart of service to help others fulfill their dreams. And those are the true heroes in my mind. So at this point, we're going to bring Eric and Lucas up. We're going to do a little warrior athlete panel here. So I look forward to this.
Thank you. Hey, look, I have 2 mics. Nobody likes that? You guys don't know why I have 2 mics. Check this out. How you guys doing? How are you guys doing? Do you guys like that? What? Okay, alright, so I'll be serious, sorry. By the way, give a warm, awesome, happy to warrior. Awesomeness for JJ Thomas and Lucas Foster and Jesse Stewart, ladies and gentlemen. It is so amazing these gentlemen are here. Really, really awesome. I want to give you, there you go, man. Amazing, man, amazing. And thanks for your service, brother. Appreciate you. All right, so we're gonna have you kick this off, my friend.
Okay, Eric. Well, one of the things that Eric and I have been throwing around recently here over the last month is this concept of the warrior athlete mentality, which is something that I've worked with these athletes for 4 years now. And what we started to do is kind of bring that meld in. What can these athletes learn from us warriors? And then what can us warriors, particularly the ones that have had to take a knee and step back into the limelight, to learn from these athletes? And so it's kind of developed this warrior athlete mindset, and it's kind of interesting, Habitude Warrior. Eric and I started talking about, what about the Habitude Warrior athletes? Because the warrior athletes are not the only ones that can provide value, right? There's the business people, the everyday warriors, the dad warriors, the mom warriors, that can also bring value to people like us. So with that being said, Lucas, I'd like to start with you. Why don't you just talk about the warrior athlete mindset from what you and I, the work we've done, and the other vets in the military that you've met over the last year?
Yeah, there's so many similarities between, what Jesse's coming from and what us athletes face each day, and there's too many to really list in a short amount of time. But the biggest one for me is we have the same kind of idea of defeat to success. You go through so much, for guys like Jesse, they have an end goal, and that end goal is not going to happen without some crazy, or as snowboarders say, some gnarly stuff going down. And I've heard the stories from Jesse, and it's insane. It's like, it's out of this world. And for snowboarders, it's nothing like what these guys are going through, but we have the same kind of deal with we have this end goal, and we got to go through so much, just like what JJ was talking about with Sean. That is the definition of warrior athlete, and it kind of triggers the same type of it calls for the same type of tools: perseverance, confidence. You go through the same type of emotions that guys like Jesse would go through whenever they get come through some type of defeat. It sparks the same thing in us, even though we're not going through the same exact type of situations. So that's the biggest thing that I can really think of right off the bat.
I have to constantly remind myself this guy's only 19 years old. For him to have that sort of insight just blows my mind.
And the other one too is we're both of service. Jesse's representing America whenever they're doing their thing. We're doing the same thing. And we're doing, for snowboarders, it's our country, but it's also those that come after us. So we're both in service. We're both out there contributing to something. So that's the biggest one that I forgot about.
Thanks, Lucas. So, real quick,
Hold on, Jesse. Is there anything else?
That's it.
Love you, Eric. So, JJ, when I was training for Ranger School, you were training for the Olympics. Fast forward 17 years later, and you and I are up at the top of the pipe, attempting to provide some sort of motivation. What does that mean to you, kind of our journeys? Because like I said, when I started out, I know you were back there in your chi and your focus zone, but what does that mean to you that 17 years later, we're doing stuff like this, given our past 17 years ago?
Well, for starters, it's an honor to be up here with someone like yourself, and on the outside, our worlds might look like they're not connected, but kind of what Lucas was saying, we're all really connected, whether you're an Army Ranger, professional snowboarder, basketball player, business person, mom or dad. We're all humans fighting the same battles here. At the end of the day, we see people on TV or on the radio, and you make up in your head that they live a life that's so great and they don't have battles. Man, it is the same all the way around. So it's an honor to be up here with you and just sharing the stories and really passing along the knowledge I've learned along with Jesse and Lucas and Eric to you guys. I hope you enjoy it and can use it.
That's awesome. So JJ and Lucas, I have a question for both of you guys. So my question is, I'd love you both to speak a little bit on the fact of competition, because I know that both of you deal with a lot of competition. And it's a two-part question, by the way. So here's the first question: is what is competition to you? What's it mean to you? And how do you deal with other people and with competitors out there? And the second question is, which is more important to deal with, the competition, physically competition out there, or the mental competition within our own minds?
Competition to me, there's so many different ways that I look at it, but competition in my life has kind of became something that has been just a huge motivator, because I love snowboarding. Even before I knew that you could do contests or make money doing it, if I wasn't competing, I know I'd still be wanting to be a better snowboarder, but competition really gives me an opportunity to work harder than I would if I didn't have that hanging over me, and it's given me so many cool opportunities to meet new people and travel to these new places, and I think that's kind of the real gift in competition is you are doing something positive, you're seeing new places, you're meeting new people, and it kind of has unfolded so many new opportunities for me like this. If I wasn't competing in contests, I wouldn't be here today. And I'd say the mental and the physical, you can't really put one over the other. From my experience, they both feed each other. If you don't have the mental, you won't have the physical. If you don't have the physical, you're not going to have the mental. You can maybe go a little bit, like going to the gym but not practicing a mental game and ride that wave for a little bit, but at some point it'll all kind of fall off the tracks, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I'd say the stronger your body is, the stronger your mind's going to be, and the stronger your mind is, the more disciplined you're going to be to continue doing, the stuff that requires the physical work. And yeah, it's just like a full circle. Physical feeds the mental, complements each other.
That's awesome. Thank you. JJ? He's
Yeah.
like, yeah, what he said.
No,
Just talking everything he does,
I personally love competition. I think it brings out the best in all of us. And even if you don't like it at first, if you just do it, you will learn to love it. Because it gives you a marker and something to shoot for. Practicing is cool, but there's something about having pressure and goals on you that really makes you do things. I mean, there's a reason Sean waited till the biggest moment of his life to do those tricks. Competition. You can't go out and practice some of the things we want to do. You can say you can, but it's hard to get the motivation. So that's what I love about competition. It puts you on the spot and makes you step out of your comfort zone and do things you would only do when it counts. And I just think it's a beautiful thing, and anyone can learn to love it. So, big fan here.
I think Lucas has one more thing to say.
Yeah. When JJ started speaking, I just thought it made me think of another thing. Like, it is super cool just how it does bring out the best in so many people. And there's a lot of times where I'm at a contest and I kind of start laughing at the whole idea of wow, we're up here snowboarding, having so much fun. We're all getting so much better. This is such a dream scenario where, we're competing and whoever wins gets the money. And if you don't win, you still get the experience. You still, went out there and tried your best. And it's those moments right there are so insanely special. So many people really chase that. So I think it's something that you can really kind of take lightly in some aspects because you know that it's such a special opportunity that a lot of people don't get. So
That's amazing. I want to mention something. Do the two of you, well, three of you, realize that you three are mentors to so many people, and you may not even realize how much of a mentor you guys are? Do you realize that? You need to realize that.
yeah.
They need to realize that, don't they?
Yeah, the last thing I want to just ask, just real quick, is if one of you guys, or each of you could just say, and Eric, I actually have this question for you as well, because I know it ties into your work, but I know what service means to me. I know what it meant on September 11, 2001. I knew what it meant on March 21st, 2003, when I crossed into Iraq. But I know what it means to me now. And a lot of it is more about what I do at the top of the U.S. Open halfpipe, standing next to this guy, or getting ready to watch him drop in. But I wonder if you guys just very quickly codify service from your perspective, JJ.
Service to me is giving. What can I give that day? No matter where I am. If I'm in my comfort zone, I know what to give. If I'm out of my comfort zone, still think about something to give someone that day. For me, it just relaxes me, puts me in a better mood. It just makes my world a better place. So that's my definition of service.
Thanks, JJ. Lucas, thank you.
My definition of service is finding your gift and giving that gift away. Don't possess it and just hold it for yourself, because at some point you're gonna die, and you want to leave something for other people. And yeah, so just figure out what you like, figure out what you're good at, and give that to other people, and they can apply it to their lives. That's what this whole conference is. So it's super cool.
Who are you, dude?
And Eric, could you wrap us up with
Yeah,
your
wait,
definition?
Alec, we gotta change these banners. It's the Lucas Foster having a warrior situation. Wow. Killing me, man. You're great. Yogi. Service to me is, it's all about, I have initials that I stand by, and it's NDSO. And it's no drama, serve others. And I live by that, and my father taught me that, and I'll share that story with you later on, probably tomorrow, when I speak on stage. But it's all about, like Lucas said, just finding that passion, finding that awesomeness that you can, all of us have different awesomeness that we can share. Like if I went to Jesse and said, hey man, your service is gonna be like cooking for us. I don't know if you're a good cook, and you're not. And you're like, no, that's not my go-to. But my go-to is this, and then sharing that with the world. That's what service is to me. And Jesse, I want to mention one more thing before we may have a surprise. I just want to mention that, you and I were chatting the other day, and we've become really close friends. really close. This is where I get all teary-eyed, but I want to tell you, I love you, man. You're a great guy, great friend, and something that we talked about was being a warrior. It's not about that it's not that we're not gonna fail. It's that we don't allow ourselves to fail, and that's what it resonated with me. So, pass it to you because something got my eye. I don't know what happened. It's like Dusty when we put that thing up there.
Just remnants from
Pass it to you,
Lucas'
man.
speech. Remnants from Lucas' speech. Well, Eric, I think we might have something special to do here at this moment. So if we could do that, execute, bring it up.
Go ahead and.
Eric, at his conferences, he normally does something that's special to represent the conference. You know, there's a certain author coming in where they have a book where everyone signs it or something like that. And he said to me, he goes, "Hey Jesse, I'll go out and buy a snowboard." And I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "Well, which snowboard should I get?" And I'm like, "Well, these freaking kids work for different companies, and there's gonna be
They're
NDAs.
sponsored by different
Lucas can't sign a Burton snowboard, and JJ can't sign a Solomon snowboard." So I went to JJ and I said, "JJ, what are the chances of getting a discounted Burton snowboard or something like that?" He's like, "Dude, Jesse just asked me for one. I've got like 250 in my house." And so this snowboard was written by JJ as part of his journey to becoming not only an Olympic champion himself, but the mentor to several other present and future Olympic champions. And we're going to sign this board, the four of us, and dedicate it to the Habitude Warrior Athlete mentality.
That's amazing, and isn't that good luck, thank you. It's amazing. So we're going to go ahead and sign this, the four of us. And what's cool is we're donating this to the birth and the start. And Jesse, I want you to be, I want you to really absorb this, Jesse. We need to do a photo op on it right there. But it's the Habitude Warrior Athlete's mindset. And Jesse and I are putting together. This is the launch, the birth of this mindset that I believe that we're going to be able to touch and help so many people out there and mentor ourselves. Does that make sense? At the same time, and this is kind of a symbol. And thank you for donating this. It's amazing. And it's a symbol of, and that's going to hang somewhere. I don't know where we're going to put it, but it's going to be the birth and the launch and the symbol of success for the warrior mental, athlete's mindset. So is that kind of cool? What do you guys think? Pretty cool? Yeah. So let's go ahead and sign this. And then we're going to ride it later in San Diego, on the slopes of San Diego.
Okay, Lucas is really trying to make me cry. He just wrote RLTW, Rangers Lead the Way.
All right, Eric, can we have more somber music? That's excellent.
It's the music played for the Spartans when they came home from battle.
While I'm doing this, I think Lucas has something to say to you guys again. Hold on.
We're gonna watch Eric sign this board in huge letters. Yeah, thank you guys. This is a really cool conference. Eric always puts me on the spot whenever he's doing something. He's like, "Lucas, say something." And I've only known him for like 12 hours, but that's okay. I'll say something. I heard that's what he does. Puts you on the spot.
All right, well, if you guys want to stay after, JJ and Lucas will be hanging around for probably a little bit after lunch if you want to connect with them. I don't know if we have a slide coming up here for future to be able to look at, but you can follow both Lucas and JJ. Instagram, I think, is their preferred method. They were the ones that sucked me into Instagram, so thanks, guys. Lucas can be found at Lucas Foster, one word, underscore. And then JJ is JJ Thomas, underscore. And then JJ has a great website that highlights his coaching, and if that's something that you'd be interested in, is tapping into his mindset, what he does, you can check that out at jjthomascoaching.com. And then from all of us as a gift, so part of my key to my day is my morning routine, called the Phoenix Rising routine, and it's something that I've developed and have worked with Lucas personally on, and have discussed with JJ, because in addition to being my mentor in the snow, he's also my recovery coach. He's about to fire me though, for my lack of recovery. But if you guys go to am300.com and sign up, there's a little box there that says Have to Warrior Conference. You'll get a free PDF ebook of that Phoenix Rising routine, courtesy of the three of us, and on there will be their contact information and all that stuff. But highly encourage you to look at it. Super entertaining stuff on there. There might even be some videos of Jesse, JJ, and Lucas riding down the terrain park at the US Open together. And on Lucas's site, it's got a ton of great show off of his trips. And then JJ, he simply looks like he's floating on a magic carpet when he's going down the mountain. It's amazing.
And I'm the Uber driver. Let's bring this up here. Let's do a quick photo with everyone. Is that okay? Yeah, you guys want to take a quick photo? How about this? Everyone take a quick photo and then post it during lunch. Is that cool? So post this. Here we go. So I'll just point to this. No more somber music. Look, he's like, forget it, no music at all then. Let me make it. All right, awesome guys. Thank you very much. You guys are amazing. Thank you. I laughed, I cried, I joked, and then I knew you were gonna, I was looking for you. Hey guys, was that pretty cool? All right, I need my phone, Yuri, because I need to know what time it is. Let me see that for a second. How much fun was that? Was that like amazing fun, or what's going on? Give it up, guys, give it up for the three of those gentlemen. Thank you for standing. You guys are all great. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate that. We've got, the time right now is 12:05. Everyone with me on that? 12:05, yes? So we're gonna take a break. We're 5 minutes early on our break, which is awesome. So we're gonna do a break now.